Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 346 for the 7th of June 2015. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia. And what lovely weather it is in Sydney, Australia. Lovely, wintry, crisp days and cool evenings. Not a bad place to be at all. Coming up on this week's episode of The Skeptic Zone, we're going to kick off with Evidence Please with Jo Alabaster. Some news this week concerning the old chestnut of homeopathy. I wonder if you can get homeopathic chestnuts. You probably can. Jo's going to be discussing some latest developments there, including praise where praise is due to our good friends at the Good Thinking Society in the UK. Congratulations to you people who have been doing some undercover, over-the-counter investigations. Homeopathic owls. Well, just when you think homeopathy can't get any more loony, stay tuned for Evidence Please with Jo Alabaster. Following that, it's a week in science from the Royal Institution of Australia, www.riaus.org.au, the URL I tell you about frequently, worth a visit. And indeed, the actual institution itself in the beautiful city of Adelaide is always worth a visit. Hello to my good friend Dr. Paul Willis, who is the director there. And then after that, it's a report from Mind, Body, Spirit. Mind, Body, Wallet, as we call it. Jo Alabaster, Alethea Dean, Aran Segev and myself were at Mind, Body, Spirit just the other week. And I'm going to be telling you about some of them. In fact, I've got them right here. Here, what's this? Some of the brochures and things and conversations we had at Mind, Body, Wallet. Ah, dear. Discover amazing health benefits of the computerized nonlinear analysis system, NLS. Metatron for health check. Fast, effective, painless, non-invasive. Yeah. Wait till you hear about this one, folks. And the other goodies from Mind, Body, Wallet. Then quick report from the four of us just after the event. And then I'm going to replay a report by our dear friend Jo Benhamu from 2009 from the Skeptic Zone with her thoughts on Mind, Body, Wallet, Mind, Body, Spirit. And after all these years, it's sad that not much has changed. A great report from way back in 2009. Then to round off the show, it's Skepticamp from last week, where you'll hear my little presentation called We've Heard It All Before, where I'm going to be discussing some of the sayings, phrases, sound bites, comebacks that I've heard over the years again and again and again and again from the New Agers, the New Age people, and alternative medicine people and things like that. What have I heard so many times before? I think you'll find some of this very interesting, and it might help you, because if you're out there doing skeptical stuff, you'll probably hear some of this yourself. Now, I don't know how you listen to the Skeptic Zone. You probably, like a lot of people tend to do, download it via iTunes. You can listen to it directly on the webpage at skepticzone.tv. And now, officially, you can hear it on Stitcher. So if you're using Stitcher, give the Skeptic Zone a search, and it should pop up and away you go. And don't forget, you can always leave a review for the Skeptic Zone at iTunes, and we appreciate that. And, of course, I do thank the people who chip in to help the Skeptic Zone keep going. And you can chip in via PayPal for as little as $1 a week. And you can see the details there at skepticzone.tv to do that. And, yes, it does go a long way. It helps us keep the show going, helps us produce stories, get equipment, pay for the website. You know, the sort of thing. But now it's time for me to run downstairs with Fred the cat. Give him some lovely, what can he have this week? Some beef and gravy. What do you mean this week? Do you eat every day, Fred? I hope so. Beef and gravy today, Fred. He looks suitably impressed. And I might have some French onion soup Ooh, I had some French onion soup at my favourite cafe in Newtown, Cafe 2042. Check it out, folks. While I'm doing that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. What we want is some more evidence, please. Here's Jo Alabaster.
Hello, this is Jo Alabaster. This week, news about that continual thorn in our side, homeopathy. First up, I'd like to read you a media release from the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners, which was picked up as a news story by several media outlets. From racgp.org.au. Homeopathy treatment not effective and should not be prescribed. 3rd of June 2015. GPs should not prescribe homeopathic remedies for their patients, and pharmacists should not sell or recommend the use of homeopathic products, according to the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners, RACGP. Releasing its position statement on homeopathy, RACGP President Dr. Frank R. Jones said GPs practiced in evidence-based medicine, and there was robust evidence homeopathy had no effect beyond a placebo as a treatment for various clinical conditions. Quote, "Given this lack of evidence, it does not make sense for homeopathy products to be prescribed by GPs or sold, recommended or supported by pharmacists," end quote, Dr. Jones said. The RACGP position statement maintains that homeopathic alternatives should not be used in place of conventional immunisation. Quote, "It is irresponsible to claim that homeopathic vaccines are a proven alternative to conventional vaccination. The reality is that these alternatives do not prevent diseases or increase protective antibodies, and there is no plausible biological mechanism by which these alternatives could prevent infection. Individuals in the community are exposed to preventable diseases when homeopathic vaccines are used as an alternative to conventional immunisation," end quote, Dr. Jones said. Another risk of homeopathy is that people delay or avoid seeing a GP, exacerbating their condition through delayed care, and reject conventional medical approaches. Quote, "Spurious claims made by homeopathic practitioners and retailers can mislead people about the effectiveness of conventional medicine, and this can result in serious health consequences," end quote, Dr. Jones said. The position statement also outlines that many private health insurers subsidise homeopathy through extras cover when alternative evidence-based treatment methods are available. Quote, "Whilst we appreciate and recognise the right of patients who may choose or seek homeopathy, unfortunately all taxpayers are funding homeopathy via the federal government's private health insurance rebate," end quote, Dr. Jones said. Quote, "The RACGP is concerned that health insurance premiums continue to rise as significant subsidies are paid out for homeopathy and other natural therapies. In 2013 to 2014, health insurers paid out $164 million in benefits for natural therapies, an increase of almost 60% from 2010 to 2011. End quote. Earlier this year, the National Health and Medical Research Council, NHMRC, analysed the scientific evidence for the effectiveness of homeopathy in treating a range of clinical conditions. It concluded that homeopathy produces no health benefits over and above that of a placebo or equivalent to that of another treatment. Now, while all of this is really good and an excellent public statement to be making to help the population become more aware of issues surrounding homeopathy, the fact that it doesn't work, that something that doesn't work is being sold in pharmacies, and that something that doesn't work is being included in taxpayer-subsidised private health cover and is driving up premiums, I can't help but feel a little bit stunned that doctors and pharmacists would ever need to be told not to recommend homeopathy. How anyone who's studied medicine, pharmacology in particular, could give a moment's thought to even allowing patients to select homeopathic treatment without an explanation as to its lack of efficacy, let alone recommend it, is quite beyond me. Still, the RACGP's position statement is, like the NHMRC's findings, more weight coming down on homeopathy. Homeopathy in pharmacies is one of my greatest bugbears. It's easy for people to consider its existence alongside evidence-based treatments to be an endorsement of its efficacy, particularly given the credibility of pharmacists. One argument as to why pharmacies stock homeopathy is that they're being run as a business, and that there's a public demand for homeopathic products, which is frustrating as they're businesses which we rely on for vital health information and products, and discount glitter nail polish, which is an integral item for my personal well-being. Pharmacies are businesses, but they're also an essential service, one that most of us need to use from time to time, one through which we rely on the services of a university-trained professional. Accepting the business model, though, makes me wonder whether part of the push for change could come from consumer demand. Perhaps one day we could get a large enough percentage of the public to say no to homeopathy, and if a pharmacy chain removes it from its shelves, reward them with our custom. This is highly idealistic, I realise. In the meantime, we do have groups such as Friends of Science in Medicine lobbying for the removal of non-evidence-based products from pharmacy shelves. And you can see what they're up to, and if you're so inclined, lend them your support by going to scienceinmedicine.org.au. Across and up to the UK now, where the Good Thinking Society have been campaigning to have homeopathy struck off of the NHS. That's the National Health Service akin to Medicare down here, which funds homeopathic hospitals. The campaign has been a great success so far, with extensive media coverage and clinical commissioning groups, their local area groups which organise the delivery of NHS services, reassessing their support for homeopathy, some announcing that they'll no longer be funding such. As part of the Good Thinking Society's efforts to examine and publicise what's going on with NHS-funded homeopathy in the UK, our eminent friend Michael Marshall investigated precisely what's being sold by homeopathic pharmacies which supply the NHS, and came across something rather bizarre: an owl remedy. Freeman's Homeopathic Pharmacy in Glasgow lists all sorts of weird and wonderful remedies on their website, including 3 different remedies labelled owl. Marsh decided to find out more about the owl remedy and called Freeman's. What followed was a slightly surreal conversation in which the pharmacy assistant informed Marsh that the remedy was made from owl feathers and was prescribed by homeopathic doctors and practitioners not for owl allergies, but for people who were taking on the characteristics of owls, such as not sleeping. The entire conversation is available as a YouTube video. I'll put a link in the show notes as it's well worth a listen and a watch. During the conversation, the homeopathic pharmacy assistant stated that the homeopathic owl was for doctors and practitioners to prescribe and not sold over the counter. Yet the Good Thinking Society was able to purchase it online without a prescription nor a warning that one is required. Discoveries such as this, while disturbing in a sense, are also incredibly useful. The strange combination of absurdity and bulldust in the homeopathic owl expose caught not only the attention of skeptics and the like on social media, but also that of the Daily Mirror, which ran a story on the Good Thinking Society's work around homeopathy and the case of the owl remedy. That's a huge well done to the Good Thinking Society. And you know, if you find something similarly bizarre, pursue more information and consider going public. Weirdness can be an excellent way to draw public and media attention to pseudoscience. Finally, here's a fantastic tweet which caught my eye from Andy Lewis, whose Twitter handle is Le Canard Noir. Quote, "The Good Thinking Society Owl Remedy expose is a classic example of the idea that the biggest threat to homeopathy is people knowing what it is." End quote. Too right. You can read more about the Good Thinking Society's amazing work at goodthinkingsociety.org. Until next week, have a hoot of a time. A transcript of this report with links has been posted at my blog, which can be found on evidenceplease.net.
Raskó Gábor vagyok, a Skeptikus Társaság Egyesület és a Skeptikus Szervezetek Európai Tanácsának elnöke. Mint a Skeptic Zone podcast hallgatója, bizonyára te is fontosnak tartod az áltudományokkal kapcsolatos felvilágosítást, a kritikai gondolkodást és annak népszerűsítését. Ha szeretnél részt venni ilyen tevékenységben, vedd fel velünk a kapcsolatot a www.skeptikustársaság.hu vagy az info@skeptikus.hu címen. Továbbá ajánlom figyelmedbe Facebook oldalunkat is, amit a facebook.com/skeptikustársaság címen találsz, valamint várunk szeretettel rendezvényeinken. Hi, this is Gábor Raskó, President of the Hungarian Skeptic Society and Chairman of the European Council of Skeptical Organizations. As a listener of the Skeptic Zone, you probably agree that educating others about pseudoscience and critical thinking is an important task. If you are eager to take part in either of these activities, we would be happy to hear from you. Don't hesitate to contact us at www.skeptikus.hu or info@skeptikus.hu. We also recommend you visiting our Facebook page, Skeptikus Társaság, or simply come and join us at one of our events.
Welcome to a Week in Science from RiAus, bringing you the science you need to know. Well, there's no danger of falling off the edge of the Earth, but is that thanks to the roundness of our home planet? Well, not quite. The ground beneath your feet is actually part of an oblate spheroid. So, what's an oblate spheroid? Well, it's basically a sphere with a bulge around the middle. Because the planet spins, rotational forces push mass outwards at the equator, creating this odd shape. In fact, if you measure the Earth across the poles, you'll find that it's 12,713.6 kilometres. Then, if you measure the Earth across the equator, you'll get 12,756.2 kilometres. That's a difference of 42.6 kilometres. Scientists can keep track of the Earth's shape by using GPS sensors, satellite laser ranging, and very long baseline interferometry. Basically a bunch of different ways of monitoring the position of ground stations. And of course, how can the Earth be round when it's covered in mountains and valleys? The highest point above sea level, Mount Everest, reaches 8,848 metres. But Mount Everest is not actually the point on Earth furthest from the centre. That honour goes to Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador. While its elevation is only 6,268 metres, it's more than 2,000 metres further from the Earth's centre than Everest. And there's one last competitor for biggest mountain, the Hawaiian volcano Mauna Kea, which is more than 10,000 metres from base to summit. And here's a fact that might blow your mind. If you shrunk the Earth down to the same size, it would be smoother than a billiard ball. That's right, billiard balls can have imperfections of up to 0.22%, but the Earth only reaches 0.17%. And now, for fast facts about this oblate spheroid we call home. Sea level isn't actually level. Due to the Earth's uneven gravity field, there are permanent hills and valleys in the ocean. The circumference of the Earth is 40,075 kilometres around the equator and 40,008 kilometres around the poles. Every day, the Earth gains between 20 and 40 tonnes of mass due to collision with space debris. At this rate, it will take about 450 trillion years for the Earth to double in size. That's it for this Week in Science. For more information about Earth, go to the RiAus website, riaus.org.au. Follow us on Twitter at RiAus and like us on Facebook. I'm Casey Harrigan and we'll catch you next week.
Hi, this is Tim Farley. You probably know me from whatstheharm.net, a catalog of the real-world harm caused by lack of critical thinking. But that's not my only project. I present at Skeptic events. I post a daily Skeptic history fact on Twitter and Facebook. And I blog about using new techniques on the internet to advance skepticism. Come over to skeptools.com and check out my latest ideas. But first, enjoy the rest of the Skeptic Zone.
Ah, what lovely music. Now, As mentioned at the top of the show, Ransa Gev, Alethea Dean, reporter Jo Alabaster and I went to the Festival of Mind, Body, Spirit here in Sydney. Or as we always loved to call it for years and years and years, and I think it was our famous skeptic Barry Williams here in Australia who coined that expression, mind, body, wallet. Mind, body, wallet. Rows and rows and rows and rows of stalls selling all sorts of things. Lots of spiritual advice. People waving their hands. People doing some sort of energetic healing by going over people, which I can't quite fathom. It's the first time I ever saw ear candling. It was at a Mind Body Wallet about 10 years ago. And when I saw it, I had to look twice. I thought, no, they can't, no. They're sticking a candle in someone's ear? What? And I've seen many strange things over the years. Here are some of the things that caught my attention this time round, and I think some of these things have been around for a while. This first one certainly has been around for at least 6 months, because I'm sure we saw the same thing 6 months ago. This is the device, which is basically, it's a laptop. It's a laptop. It's a program on a laptop. And plugged into the laptop, something resembling headphones. And the idea is you sit down, they put the headphones on your head, and in theory, this device will read the vibrations coming through your skull and translate those vibrations into electrical signals back into the computer, and the computer will then display your organs, representations of your organs, nice graphics, your heart, kidney, liver, so on, and show you what's going on. Give you a health readout. Discover the amazing health benefits of the computerized nonlinear analysis system, NLS, Metatron for health checks. Fast, effective, painless, non-invasive. NLS Health Check for only $115, including one homeopathic remedy. NLS Allergy Test for $115, including printed allergies report. So they can tell you your allergies too. 20 minutes each health check and consultation. Supplements are not included. And the back of the brochure says, do you want exceptional health results? ? Look no more! ! There is a unique opportunity to have NLS Metatron Health Check at the Mind Body Spirit Festival and see 3D computerized images of your body, organs, muscles, skeletal systems, tissues, cells, and even chromosomes and DNA in details as you have never seen before. Our experienced practitioner will take you on an amazing journey into your body. What are the benefits of NLS? Point. Shows allergies and food sensitivities. Point. Prevention of disease and monitoring of treatments. Point. Status of each body system, organ, tissue, cells, or chromosomes. Point. Reasons for fatigue and low energy level. Point. Need for antioxidants and supplements. Point. Liver health and digestive system. Point. Musculoskeletal conditions. Point. Weight loss and malnutrition. Point. Identifies all pathogens and zaps them. What? Hang on. Now, this is something I didn't pick up on before. Identifies all pathogens and zaps them. A zapper. And I'm pretty sure they're illegal. To be flogging these zappers. That's interesting. In conjunction with NLS Health Check, we provide high-quality service supported with natural supplements which are exclusive to our clinic, and we guarantee clinical results. This approach enables us to achieve the highest health results for our patients. See us today at our stand. Wow. Now I'm going to include a link to on the show notes to this outfit who are flogging this system, which is the Natural Medicine Clinic, but the website is www.dh-naturalmedicine.com.au. Now, when we were talking with the people at this stand about this device and how it works, that's the best question you can ask at these things. You ask, oh, how does it work? And then you should play bingo, actually. The number of times you'll hear the word energy, vibration, the words energy, vibration, and frequency. Anyway, in conversations with the people there, it soon became apparent that they were, well, to be blunt, clueless. They had no understanding of health, really, no medical understanding. And what I suspect has happened is that they've simply bought this system and for a lot of money, and now are just flogging the health, what they consider to be the diagnostic health machine or program. I think that they're probably quite well-meaning, but hopelessly deluded. But here's the thing, they have completely and utterly neglected their due diligence and duty of care. All right, so you go along and you're convinced by some presentation, by someone flogging this device, then it's surely your responsibility to make doubly sure that you're not being hoodwinked yourself before flogging this to other people. And the biggest problem here and the biggest danger is people could have this ridiculous scan done and receive a so-called health report and think something's okay when it's not, when they should be seeking proper medical advice and treatment. Another one we found was a hair analysis system, and the brochure says, test, don't guess. How is the environment affecting your well-being? Our 90-day optimized natural coaching program is included with a 30-page hair follicle analysis report in just 15 minutes. Your report includes amino acid chart, antioxidants chart, EFAs chart, EMF, ELF chart, food additives chart, microbiology chart, minerals chart, toxins chart, 90-day coaching program, blah, blah, blah. Expo special, $70, normally $89. Now this one, and the website is infowithheart.com, is a little device about the size of an iPhone. The idea is they pluck some hairs from the back of your neck, put it on this little scanner, so-called scanner, and that scans your hair follicles. That information is sent encrypted to Germany, to a supercomputer, and then sent back as a report. The video at infowithheart.com explains it better than I can. But again, in conversations with these people, they have no understanding of what they're really flogging, and certainly no idea that the science behind it is just non-existent. Things don't work that way. Again, I sympathize that they've been sold this at probably great expense, and they've gone to a course and they've had very convincing people tell them how it works, but in the end they didn't do their due diligence. And a lot of these people were telling us, when asked, well, why isn't this thing available in hospitals if it's so amazing, scan your body and you can see your organs. The response then came back to conspiracy theories. Well, the medical profession here can't make money out of it, or it's big in Russia. It's used in every hospital in Mexico and things like this. It's big in Europe, but Australia is behind the times, and when you get to catch up, we're far away from everything. All this sort of just ridiculous assertions. And there were many, many more examples of woolly thinking and deluded people. There always are. And this is always the case at these Mind, Body, Wallet expos. So we have the information. We're going to see what we can do about it, because some of these things are dangerous. To give people this ridiculous so-called health reports when they should be seeking proper advice is simply irresponsible. But now let's hear from Alethea, Jo, and Aran and myself just after these encounters. And immediately following that, we'll have the report from 2009 by our good friend Jo Benhamu, who also visited a Mind, Body, Wallet way back then, and you'll see things haven't changed much. It's Mind, Body, Spirit, Mind, Body, Wallet once again, and if I hear the word vibration again today, I'm going to, I don't know what I'll do.
Vibrate.
I'll vibrate. Jo Alabaster, what did you think of Mind, Body, Wallet today?
It was an interesting one this time. It always is interesting. It was interesting in a different way this time around. Richard has negative energy.
I have negative energy, and Iran can attest to that.
You definitely have negative energy, and there's this GP that we talked to, which we're definitely going to look into further because he's practicing all kinds of quackery in his GP practice.
Yeah.
Who felt that energy so badly in his midriff section.
I noticed. Yes.
That he had to ask you to step away.
I had to step away from when we were talking to him. Wasn't that bizarre? You were there, Alethea, I think, at the time?
No, I wasn't.
No? Oh,
but he
missed
must have recognised you from TV.
I don't.
That's probably why you got singled out.
No. I'll tell you what it was. Richard had very negative energy, which I think was correctly identified by Richard himself as the question-asking energy.
That's right. Well, I've been coming to this for many years, as you know, and you've been to a few, we've all been to a few. This one's quite big. I thought this was at least a third bigger than the one we were at last time.
It's quite significant, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of the same old people were there, and you had your clothes read.
Oh, yes, I had my clothing read by the chap who breeds wax crayons that he melts with an iron, and he complimented me on my hair, so I jokingly asked him whether he could read people's hair colours, and yes, he could. And he did all of my clothes, and I think there was a slightly veiled insult in there too.
Oh dear. Well, you're looking very colourful today with your green hair and your purple top and your black dress and all the rest of it. I think that was quite interesting. So, Alethea, shall we do it again in 6 months?
I'm not sure I have the energy, positive or negative, to do that again.
Well, but
don't you think? I think you're asking at the wrong time. You should give it 3 months and then ask again.
Yeah, I think I should. But don't forget, in there's all those people selling you things to improve your energy and your frequencies and your vibrations.
Well, yeah, there was I think our standout one was the 98 Alive people who, I think it's a herbal supplement. I think ultimately that's what it was, but...
It's a tea tree extract of some sort.
Tea tree extract where they'd taken out all the toxic compounds and left all the magical good compounds and some new compounds.
And 58 new compounds,
yes.
Yeah.
And it fixes everything. So it boosts and normalizes your immune system.
Uh-huh.
It gets rid of bad bacteria while supporting good bacteria. It's an antiviral, and it fixes your cancer too.
Apparently so.
Yeah. Oh, and you can take it instead of your retrovirals if you're afflicted with HIV. We were informed of this, although it wasn't on the literature that was printed.
Yeah, we were told.
Yeah, and I asked whether it would cure my herpes. For the record, because this is public, I don't have herpes, but I asked whether it would cure my herpes, and he said, well, we're not allowed to use the word cure, but yes.
Oh dear. Well, folks, as always, it's worth coming to a spiritual fair, what we call Mind, Body, Wallet. You learn a lot. We've got, all of us, we've got bags of brochures and literature to look through, and I bought some nice chips, organic chips.
You got organic chips, but I got an orgonite.
An orgonite?
I have an orgonite. It seems to be sort of some metal filaments and apparently some quartz encased in resin, and that will take away negative energy and replace it with negative ions, I believe.
Is that from the water? They have this thing in the water in one of the stands. They had these similar looking things inside a water tank.
Maybe they were cleansing
and that
the water.
Actually, it cleansed. No, the water is alkaline, and it does something to that, and it breaks apart the molecules.
Oh, that's frightening.
Yeah, water molecules.
Quite amazing, actually.
Yes.
Whatever next. But you bought shoes, so we all do well. And you bought what?
I bought shoes and tea.
And tea. And you bought...
I bought tea also.
You bought
tea and a ginger drink.
A ginger drink.
Yes.
So.
There's actually quite a lot of stuff in here, which is simply people who know there's going to be a lot of people here today, and they just want to sell. And as long as it doesn't contradict the essence of this conference or this convention too much, then I think they're happy to sell it.
There's also Also, I feel like there's been a real price hike since even the last time we were here. There were people selling 10-minute psychic readings for what?
$60?
Yeah.
$60.
$60.
10-minute psychic reading, $60. Yeah.
I suggested that maybe we could do that. I'll write a list of facts about myself on a note.
Yeah.
And if they get them right, then I'll pay them the $60. And if they don't, they will pay me $60 for wasting my time.
Good luck with that. Well, thanks for coming along. And, we'll see what happens in 6 months' time.
Thanks, Richard.
Alethea is not looking impressed.
My name is Jo Benhamu. A few weeks ago, myself and several other skeptics went to the Festival of Mind, Body and Spirit at the Sydney Exhibition Centre. As a registered nurse, it concerns me that many people are choosing to dabble in untested health treatments that have not been held up to scientific scrutiny and could potentially cause harm. I was keen to see what the festival offered and whether it would live up to its reputation within the skeptical community as an arena for quackery, nonsense and magical potions. Perhaps it would turn out to be just a bit of harmless fun. I was not disappointed. In keeping with its name, the Festival of Mind, Body and Spirit is nothing if not spirited. Upon entering the Sydney Exhibition Centre, I was met by the jingle-jangle of bells and air that sparkled with the stray glitter of passing fairy wings. The hall was positively abuzz with enthusiastic stall holders passing out flyers and punters eagerly filling their complimentary carry bags with tonics, crystals, organic foods and promotional materials. A huge queue had formed around the Aura Images stand, where having one's energy field photographed seemed to be the activity du jour. As I watched the crowd lap up the rhetoric and jostle for treatments to vague ailments, or more accurately, symptoms of life, I began to wonder what a blight on human progress it will prove to be to have so many of us waste our energies on products and procedures that refuse to be held accountable to all known laws of chemistry, physics and biology, and which, unfortunately, have great potential to do harm. My mind returned to the word harm frequently during the day. As Tim Farley's superb website, whatstheharm.net, shows us, the harm is very real. Right now, the world faces many difficult challenges, some realised and some lurking on the edge of our vision, threatening, but by no means guaranteed. The return of some of the most frightening infectious diseases that we have suffered, as well as the potential for a deadly flu pandemic, creates real challenges for both medical researchers and clinicians. And yet, rather than seeking education through vetted and verifiable sources, or consulting medical experts with years of scientific training, droves of people are throwing away their time and money on unsubstantiated mumbo-jumbo that has not been answerable to rigorous standards of scientific evidence. Remaining unanswerable proved to be a theme of the day, as I came to see. Despite the requirements set out by the New South Wales Department of Health that the Code of Conduct for unregistered health practitioners be displayed in any place where they practice, that document was noticeably absent from every stall. At a large stall offering holistic treatment for hundreds of conditions, including cancer, I witnessed an elderly lady being filmed by the stall holder as she hesitantly pulled herself out of her wheelchair to try the special footwear that he had fitted her with. Sitting in a neat row on top of a table was a collection of potions. She walked a few steps, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Peter Popoff might leap out from behind a curtain yelling, "Jesus, ye hath healed!" Dr. Rachel Dunlop, one of my partners in investigation for the day, asked the mustachioed man behind the camera if he would be able to help her friend who had recently been diagnosed with cancer. He swiftly responded, "Yes," and with great flourish pointed to the row of bottles, assuring us that those exact bottles were what her friend would need. A consultation and then a liquid diet would be required, altogether incurring a cost of $12,000 for 1 year. The results, he declared, the cancer would go away. A burgeoning new trend in the world of complementary and alternative medicine is the promotion of so-called alkaline water. This centres on claims that the pH of the body is becoming increasingly acidic due to exposure to environmental toxins and poor lifestyle. A large sign in front of one stall invited passers-by to ask how water can cure incurable diseases. We pressed the stall holders for more information about how this worked and whether it could cure our friend's cancer. They speedily backpedaled from their claims, offering vague explanations about it helping the immune system, neutralising acid, and detoxifying the body. Their bizarre logic and aggressive demeanour led us to quickly retreat, but not before one of them tapped Australian Skeptics Vice President Richard Saunders on the shoulder, and with a great chuckle proffered that the aspartame-laden gum that Richard was chewing would soon give him brain cancer. Several stalls offered live blood analysis, a pseudoscience claiming to diagnose illness by analysing a drop of blood under a microscope. After the diagnosis, punters are encouraged to buy the supplements on display. We asked the stallholder how it worked and whether they could use it for HIV or other viruses like swine flu. We were told that it coats the cell, creating a barrier so that nothing can get in. When I inquired about how things that need to get into the cell, like oxygen, can do so, he looked at me blankly and told me that the barrier only lasted for 1 hour. At the end of the day, standing at the doors of the Sydney Exhibition Centre, I couldn't help but wonder, would such enthusiasm be on show for a festival grounded in real science? Are we no longer interested in scientific evidence and only able to absorb vague ideas based on ethereal notions of energy, auras, chakras, and harmony with nature? What kind of harm threatens humanity if we continue to allow the celebration and indeed the commercialization of the unfounded cure in a bottle?
So that's a wrap-up of the Mind, Body, Spirit, Mind, Body, Wallet Festival. These are in Sydney every 6 months, and I think probably in Melbourne every 6 months, and other capital cities at least annually. And if you go to one anywhere around the world, ask questions. And you'll soon discover the people there don't know what they're talking about. They certainly don't know the meaning of the word energy. And they'll use words like frequency and vibration just mixed up with everything else. Now, I can't tell you not to pick arguments if you go to these things, but I found over the years they don't actually get you anywhere. It's better just to go there and collect information, and maybe we can actually do something about this outrageous festival of Mind, Body, Wallet.
Did you see that UFO sighting that made the news? What did that latest study about alternative treatments really say? Is this photo making the rounds real or a hoax? Doubtful News is a unique website featuring news about pseudoscience, the paranormal, anomalies, and questionable claims framed with a skeptical view. Come visit doubtfulnews.com every day for news about cryptozoology, conspiracies, shams, scams, and more. Follow us on Twitter at Doubtful News. Critical thinking is essential in assessing today's news. Doubtful News helps you decide, can you really believe this stuff?
Good morning, everybody. Before I start my talk today, which I just wrote, is called "We've Heard It All Before," and I'm sure you've heard it all before. What I'm going to be discussing is some of the things I've heard over the years in my skeptical activities from the other side, so to speak. But before we start that, this is Jo Alabaster, everybody, reporter for the Skeptic Zone. And some of you may know who follow the Skeptic Zone that what we try to do before each episode is a little video teaser. So I thought I'd do a quick video teaser live from Skepticamp. So, we turn around here.
Yes. Okay, so selfie mode.
Selfie mode. We do this. And how's that?
Yeah.
Hello, this is Richard Saunders with
Jo Alabaster.
and we're at Skepticamp in Sydney. Hello. Hello. Coming up on this week's show. Jo, what's coming up?
Mate, I will be talking to people at a paranormal convention.
Ooh.
I'm going to be talking about Blackmore's funding a chair at Sydney University in integrative medicine.
Really?
Really?
And I'll be conducting interviews at Skepticamp here in Sydney. That's coming up on the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 345 for the 31st of May. Hooray! Hooray! That's it. All right, that'll go up later. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for indulging me. Now, so, yes, no slides. Let's see if that works. So what I'd like to talk about, briefly, a little bit about me for those of you who don't know too much about what I've been up to. I'm a committee member of the Australian Skeptics. I've been a past president. I'm also a life member of the Australian Skeptics. I am a committee member of the James Randi Educational Foundation's $1 Million Challenge. I'm a fellow for the Centre for Skeptical Inquiry in the United States. I'm one of the team who do the Mystery Investigators school show, now in its 12th year, I think. As you saw, I'm the one of the hosts and producers of the Skeptic Zone podcast, and I did a documentary which Maureen's mother and Maureen herself appeared in last year that came out, called The Vaccination Chronicles, and that's a free documentary. So I've heard a lot of things over the years in my skeptical adventures. I've spoken to a lot of people who we might say are the believers in all sorts of things. And some of the things they tell me come up frequently, and I hear them again and again from different people over the years, and I will into the future. So I thought I'd relate some of these to you, and you may have some good ideas for a quick rebuttal. But these are the things that if you are involved in skepticism, these are some of the things you will undoubtedly hear. The first one is, and I only heard this again just the other day, more and more people. Now, this is what will be put to you by people who believe in their particular belief. They will say, these days more and more people will. The first time I heard this was from creationists, dating back to the 1970s and the 80s. More and more scientists are now turning to creationism. It's just a handy thing to say. It's also used with things like homeopathy, things in the New Age. More and more people are now realizing there's a whole fundamental shift. More and more people are realizing that we can talk to the dead, that homeopathy works, that XYZ alternative medicine is true. And I think people say this because, to their way of thinking, this must be the case. If you've invested your efforts and time and emotions and money and intellect into something, it's quite natural to assume that surely the rest of the planet will catch on, because you're right, and you've done your research and you've been convinced. So naturally, more and more people will come around to your way of thinking. I think a classic example would be Fran Sheffield in Homeopathy Plus. We can see how she's entrenched in her belief, and to her way of thinking and her friends, naturally the rest of the world will have to catch up. And I'll get to this, the rest of the world catching up soon. So that's one you will hear, more and more people. And they don't cite real statistics or anything, but to them it's just a foregone conclusion. The next one would be, a classic is labelled against skeptics. Skeptics are closed-minded. I've heard this ever since I've been in the skeptical world. Skeptics are closed-minded. It's a sort of a way to end a conversation. It's the ultimate, can't talk to you, you're closed-minded, you're a skeptic. You're a skeptic, therefore you're closed-minded, therefore you're skeptical. But really, who's in this case, who really is the closed-minded? When I was doing a TV show a number of years ago called The One, I was cast as a judge on this TV show, and they didn't cast my other judge, who would be the believer, skeptic and believer. And so they had me up, sitting in a little studio, and they would bring in candidates, contestants, people auditioning for the role. And we'd have a little chat to see if we got along and how we looked on camera. And I would ask each of them in turn. I said, I'm a skeptic, you're a believer. I said, I would believe in what you're proposing if it's talking to the dead or whatever it is, if there was enough good, compelling evidence. That's the skeptical point of view. That's the scientific outlook. I don't know what it would be like in reality. It's never quite happened yet. But I said, at least that's how I would have to try and go down that path. And I'd always ask them, what would convince you that what you think is incorrect? And basically, nothing. The true believer, it's to their way of thinking, that's reality. So of course nothing can make them change their mind. It's an interesting thing. So when people say to you skeptics, you're closed-minded, really it's the other way around. It's funny. It really is the other way around. But the perception is skeptics have to be closed-minded. Another great one I've heard over the years crops up every now and then. And it's a quote the media like to get their teeth into. For those who believe, no evidence is necessary. For those who are skeptical, no evidence is ever enough. It's a great way to just dismiss skeptical inquiry or skeptical thought. And it sort of relates back to my previous point. For those who believe, no evidence is necessary. That's pretty sad, actually. It's not a good way to conduct yourself. If you just, I believe in this, so I'm imposing a closed-minded attitude here. And the second part is completely incorrect. For those who are skeptical, no evidence is enough. Well, no. If you're skeptical, then we hope, and you must strive to accept the evidence even when it's not compatible with the way your world view. So that's a great one for media psychics and mystics and whatever. And homeopathy, I've heard it too, to use that little soundbite. But it's incorrect. But it's a soundbite. It goes out there. It's played on the media. It sounds good. Another one that's been an accusation of sorts, sort of an insult that's been put against me. On this same show on national TV. Oh, you skeptics! You thought the world was flat. Well, hang on a second. You mean me and my friends in the skeptical community think or thought the world was flat? No, that can't be right. So we go back through history, and of course on the spot, you can't do this. Okay, so people since the medieval times, I suppose, in early civilizations knew the world was round. The thing is, the only people I've heard of in recent times who think the world is flat, or indeed that the sun revolves around the earth, are believers. This thing is turned completely on its head. There are people who, what is it called, geocentrism? Is that the right term? Yeah. And there are certain religious sects who believe that the sun revolves around the earth. So this is a bizarre one, but it's a great instant put down, especially on the media. And so, I guess the thinking is, way back in antiquity, people like me would sit there and say, oh, of course the world is flat, don't be silly. And these brave other people would try to disprove the skeptics. It's completely the other way around. If anything, people could have been skeptical of the world was flat and discovered it was round. So that's an interesting one that comes up. Oh, another great one. And this is an interesting psychological one. Again, this was put to me on this TV show. Oh, you scientists, or worse to that effect, science doesn't know everything, implying that the proposition they've just put, or what we've just observed, some psychic act, is correct. So, isn't that interesting? You're knocking this, but science doesn't know everything.
Do you know what Dara O'Brien says in response to that? Well, of course it doesn't know everything, otherwise it would stop.
Yes, that's of course it doesn't know everything, otherwise it would stop. But it's also a complete ignorance of the scientific method by these people. But what they're saying in it is that I'm right because science doesn't know everything. Therefore, one day you'll see this, what XYZ belief system will be shown to be right because science doesn't know everything. You rotten skeptic, get out of here. There's a bit of anger in that too, I think, sometimes. Or another one is, if I'm putting a point, the rebuttal from a believer could be, oh, you're a skeptic, of course you'd say that. Oh, well, of course I would, it's right. Well, I hope it's right. Again, it's dismissing what I say simply by saying, oh, but you have to say that. You're a skeptic. You're closed-minded. So I'm not going to... What you're saying is not very important. Thank you for jumping in there, Mo. It's good to... Because sometimes I struggle with the instant reply to these. And in many cases, there is no instant reply that is satisfying and you can get across. Because sometimes you have to spend time explaining. Especially this one, skeptics are closed-minded. It takes a minute or two to, talk around that one. Oh, one of my favourites of all time. So I might be discussing a point of view from the skeptical point of view. Homeopathy, for example. Oh, it works on energy. What do you mean? Reiki. What is it? Is it energy? You skeptics, you can't measure love, you know. And you will hear this. You can't measure love. Therefore, what I'm saying is true, because you can't measure that either. I've asked someone, how do you measure Reiki energy? Is it thermal? Is it sound? I mean, what is it? It's energy. Well, how do you measure it? What device? You can't measure love either. Therefore, Reiki is true. Can you see how their mind works? Yes?
I just think Tim Minchin had a great comeback for that.
Yeah.
Which was love without evidence is stalking.
Love without evidence is stalking. Tim Minchin, I like that. Now, so far, and I've only got a couple more to go, so I know we're running a bit late, but that's fine. So far, a lot of these things that they will put to you, that's their thinking. They're not trying to be funny or smart or come up with something that will confuse me or whatever the case may be. This is actually, to them, all these make perfect sense. These put-downs, these replies and everything. And as I said before, a lot of times it's very hard to have a satisfactory comeback. You just haven't got the time. And their point, especially this one, the long-winded one, for those who believe no evidence is necessary, for those who are skeptical no evidence is enough, it takes a few minutes to unpick that and turn it on its head. By then, it doesn't matter, especially if it's a soundbite for the media. Another one which I think I might have even heard Fran Sheffield use, I'm not sure. Definitely I've heard homeopaths use this one. Science has yet to catch up with us. Isn't that fascinating? Science has yet to catch up with us. It's especially in homeopathy, I think. We know it works. We've seen it work. Now, from their point of view, absolutely it works. If you're a homeopath or a Reiki practitioner or this sort of thing, and I give this talk also in relation to psychic readings, the people who come through your door are, 90%, 95% sold on the idea before they even step foot in the door. They're going there because that's the service they want, and in their mind it works. So the practitioner, let's think about homeopathy, will sit them down, have a chat with them, write out things, examine them somehow, look at them, recommend the remedies, they go away. When the patient comes back, they're usually feeling better or happier, or their situation has improved. They credit the homeopathy. The homeopath will take this on board as validation of what they're doing is true. This happens again and again and again. Of course they're convinced it works. I'd be almost convinced it works or something like that. I mean, people listen to my podcast. Maybe they're all trying to convince me of something. It's no wonder. It's no wonder. And when they see the mainstream science is doubting this, and now it's really, really against homeopathy, broadly speaking, how can they rationalize this? Well, of course it works. Science will catch up. One day science will validate all these things. It has to, because they know it works. But that's an interesting mindset. Another sort of one that I've had is people, we can use homeopathy again. I could say, look, there's no way that we know it can possibly work under the current, our understanding of the current laws of physics. Our current understanding of the laws of physics. Well, when we understand physics more, you'll see how it works. And I get things like, well, to our ancestors 200 years ago, television would have looked like magic too. But it's a false analogy, I think. Well, television isn't magic. It's science. We know how it works. Yes, but then in 200 years or in 50 years, science will discover that it's the same thing with homeopathy. So I'll wrap up quickly. I don't know how much time have I got left. A few minutes?
You're entitled to 4 more, but obviously we're running behind.
That's fine. If you have a quick question now, great. Otherwise, we can have a chat outside. Yes?
Yes, that last one. That is a manipulation of Arthur C. Clarke's any advanced technology, any sufficiently advanced technology for the kids.
Absolutely right. Yes, Arthur C. Clarke said that. Yeah, that's probably where it's come from. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Well,
and Terry Pratchett said that any sufficiently advanced magic is indistinguishable from technology.
Same sort of thinking, I think. Well, thank you very much, folks. The Skeptic Zone podcast can be found at skepticzone.tv. My Twitter is at Skeptic Zone, and I'll be happy to chat with you a bit later on. Thank you. Australian Skeptics Sydney Dinner. Autism, Myth and Reality. There are a few medical conditions as widely misrepresented as autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Conspiracy theories, myths and amateur diagnoses abound, confusing those who seek to know the reality and the latest science-based thinking on this condition. The next Sydney Skeptics Dinner will be on the 20th of June and will feature Nicole Rogerson, the founding director and CEO of Autism Awareness Australia, a national not-for-profit organisation which she set up in 2007. Nicole is a frequent speaker on autism in the media, and in 2011 she was asked to present the work created for Autism Awareness Australia at the UN, where the organisation was inducted as a member NGO. Nicole sat on the federal government's Autism Advisory Board and continues to work for better access and government support for evidence-based intensive early intervention programs for children with autism. No one will give you a better understanding of the myths and reality of autism. The dinner will be held at the Ryde Eastwoods Leagues Club, West Ryde. Tickets are only $50, including a buffet dinner. Bookings now via www.skeptics.com.au. The Australian Skeptics Dinners in Sydney have been going for many years now, and I encourage all Skeptic Zone listeners in the Sydney area to book your ticket quick, come along and enjoy this very interesting evening and a great dinner. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone this week. And don't forget, you can now officially hear us if you use the Stitcher application. And thanks to Jo Alabaster for her report this week. Thank you, Jo. I do appreciate it when my reporters send me such good work. And in fact, they always send me good work. What am I talking about? Of course they do. Don't forget, if you're coming to the amazing meeting in Las Vegas next month, please come by and say hello. I'd love to have a chat with you. Love to catch up with Skeptic Zone fans from all around the world. Always a good time. And it'll be a good time to properly acknowledge the life and the work of James Randi. I am looking forward to that. Now, before I go, if you have a skeptical event anywhere around the world or a skeptical group and you'd like more people to hear about it, drop me a line. Just go to skepticzone.tv, go to the contacts page, and you can drop me a line there. Tell me about it. And if it's something I think is worthwhile, then we can organise for a short 30-second ad to be played on the Skeptic Zone. And I do that for free. I do that as part of the philosophy of the Skeptic Zone to help promote what we do around the world. And as you know, by listening to the Zone, I always play promotions for people from all corners of the world. All 6 corners. Figure that one out. But from this corner of the world, from Sydney, Australia, this is Richard Saunders, signing off. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter @SkepticZone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.